Imagine, like, you're scrolling through the terms of service for a new apartment lease, right?
Oh, yeah, the part everyone just skips.
Exactly. You skip past all the standard, the clauses about cancellation fees and 30-day notices. And then right there in Section 4, there's this line stating that if you break the lease, your soul will literally be stripped of its humanity and damned to hell.
Oh, wow. I mean, that completely upends the mundane nature of a contract.
Right.
You go from, like, basic accounting and property management straight into eternal cosmic damnation without even skipping a beat.
It's such a jarring pivot.
Yeah.
And welcome to you, the listener, to today's custom-tailored deep dive. Because that wild whiplash between the administrative and the cosmic, that's exactly the focal point we're exploring today.
Yeah, we've got a really fascinating source text for this one.
We do. We are unpacking this highly specific translated document from 2009. It's authored by a figure named Sue Feng. And the text outlines the foundational philosophy and these incredibly strict operational rules of an organization or like a community known as Lifechanyuan.
And this document, it essentially serves as an instruction manual for a very structured, insular worldview. It attempts to map out, both the spiritual salvation of its members and the daily, day-to-day governance of their commune.
Yeah, and the central tension we just keep returning to in this deep dive is this captivating contrast right in the middle of the source material.
The contradiction.
Exactly. Like, how does a group that holds these grand, sweeping, infinite beliefs about universal prophets and heaven and hell, how do they perfectly reconcile those massive theological concepts with a highly specific 2,000 yuan administrative refund policy?
Right. We are looking at the exact point where infinite theology just, collides with mundane economics.
But before we jump into the mechanics of that collision, we do need to set a baseline for you listening today.
Absolutely crucial to point out.
Yeah, this deep dive is an impartial exploration of the ideas exactly as they are presented in the original translated text. We are not endorsing these viewpoints, and, we aren't taking any ideological sides here.
No, not at all. Our mission is strictly just to unpack the internal logic of this source material and figure out the causal mechanisms of how this community actually constructs its reality.
And then that reality requires a massive cognitive load from its members. Because to understand how Lifechanyuan governs its daily operations, we first have to understand the sheer scale of the belief system that brings them together in the first place.
It's expansive. I mean, the text refers to the foundation of Lifechanyuan as the great belief.
The great belief.
Yeah, and when the author uses the word great, they are talking about comprehensive, universal scale. The document lists the specific elements required by this faith, and the roster is just staggering.
It really is. I have the list here. A member must believe in the greatest creator, Taoism, Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, Celestial Lao Tzu, and Muhammad the Prophet.
Right, so the text is actively pulling the central figures from Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and Taoism, and just placing them on a single, unified, foundational platform.
But the list doesn't even stop with historical religious figures.
Oh, no, it keeps going.
The great belief also mandates the acceptance of, and I'm pulling this directly from the source, truth, science, logic, telegnosis, causality, and the belief in a bright future for mankind.
It's quite the combination.
I mean, I'm looking at this Jesus, Buddha, the scientific method, and telegnosis, which, for those who don't know, generally means clairvoyance or psychic knowledge.
Yeah, extrasensory perception, basically.
And my brain is just short-circuiting. Okay, let's unpack this. It's almost like an ideological buffet or a grand unified theory of human thought. But if I try to operate a community based on the rigid empiricism of science while simultaneously, validating psychic telegnosis, I'm going to be paralyzed.
It seems impossible to reconcile, right?
Yeah. How does a community practically balance hard concepts like science alongside esoteric concepts like telegnosis and multiple prophets all at the exact same time?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, synthesizing why a group might structure its beliefs this way makes a lot of sense. Combining these diverse philosophies aims to create a universally appealing worldview.
Okay, so cast the widest net possible.
Exactly. By doing this, they are leaving no room for ideological narrowness. The contradiction isn't a bug, it's the goal.
Right.
If we look at the mechanics of religious movements, they often fracture when a new framework like modern science, for instance, challenges their core tenets. By proactively absorbing every major global faith, plus science, plus mysticism, Lifechanyuan is attempting to forge an ideological superalloy.
A superalloy? That makes sense. I initially called it an ideological buffet, but a buffet implies you can just pick the Buddha and leave the science behind.
Yeah, you can't do that here. This text demands you consume and integrate the entire menu. You have to take all of it.
So when a community attempts to hold such a massive, diverse set of beliefs together, how do they maintain order and trust?
It requires an incredibly strong binding agent.
Right. And according to the text, the glue holding it all together is an uncompromising, extreme commitment to keeping promises.
Mm.
The title of the text we are analyzing sets the stakes immediately. It literally translates to rather die than swallow one's words.
It's very dramatic.
It's so intense. The document explicitly asserts that Lifechanyuan will never break its word to society or to its people. It states plainly, we mean what we say.
The internal logic being that a utopian community cannot survive even a fraction of a percent of deceit. So the text establishes consequences for breaking a promise that go, well, way beyond standard community guidelines.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the rhetoric escalates incredibly fast. It's one thing to have a community guideline, to be honest.
Right, like please don't lie to your neighbors.
Yeah, but it's an entirely different level to explicitly state that a man without faith, which here means someone who breaks their word, cannot live in contentment and isn't even a pure man.
The text says they're merely a soul.
Exactly. It strips you of your pure humanity. You're demoted to just a soul, and the cosmic stakes go even higher. Heaven is home to the faithful, while faithless people are literally doomed to hell.
What's fascinating here is how establishing such apocalyptic stakes for basic honesty creates an incredibly strong, tight-knit, in-group bond.
It forces absolute reliance on the community's integrity.
It does. The organization is weaponizing the concept of integrity. The text actually lists the required virtues of a member, what they call a Chanyuan celestial.
Right. They have to be factual, realistic, dignified, imposing, honest, and open-hearted.
Exactly, and the text insists you can only obtain these virtues if you are deeply credible. By setting these life or death, heaven or hell stakes, they drop the transactional friction within the community down to zero.
You don't need lawyers or contracts if everyone believes a single lie will send them to hell as a disembodied soul.
Precisely. They rely on cosmic enforcement instead of legal enforcement.
So how is this intense cosmic mandate of absolute trust actually applied in the real world? Because, it translates into a surprisingly practical, almost consumer-friendly financial policy for members who decide to leave.
This is where the theology gets tested against administrative reality.
Right. The text outlines a specific policy regarding disqualified Chanyuan celestials whose names are canceled. According to the document, any dedication, meaning contributions or assets they gave to the Lifechanyuan home, will be returned to them.
They get their money back.
Yeah, and the text uses this very specific analogy. It says a dedication resembles a bank deposit that belongs entirely to the individual and can be taken back at any time.
That framing is really important. Calling it a bank deposit implies the community was just holding it in trust.
And the community promises to make every effort to return it in full. They use this wild phrase about smashing pots and selling iron just to scrape the funds together so that Lifechanyuan bears no mental or spiritual burden of incredibility.
The leadership is essentially terrified of the spiritual debt of keeping someone's money.
It's like a spiritual security deposit.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, it is incredibly rare to see an ideological or spiritual community offer what is essentially a money-back guarantee. What does this tell us about how they view their members' autonomy?
Well, it actively frames Lifechanyuan as a reliable, secure entity. They desperately want to avoid the stereotype of a group that financially traps its members.
Right, because usually these groups drain your account so you literally can't afford to leave.
Exactly. By guaranteeing the return of the deposit, they lower the barrier to entry. It tells potential members, hey, your resources are your own, you're here by choice. But it also paints the leadership into a corner.
Because they made that cosmic promise.
Right. They said they'd rather die than swallow one's words. If they hoard a departing member's money, the leadership becomes faithless and goes to hell themselves.
That is a fascinating dynamic.
Yeah.
But there is one very specific, highly pragmatic caveat to this cosmic money-back guarantee.
The fine print.
The fine print of the salvation contract. And it reveals exactly how the group views economics, labor, and fairness.
Right, because they don't give everything back.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
The catch is that the refund is returned in full, except for a 2,000 yuan service fee.
An administrative processing fee for leaving the commune.
Yeah, and the author dedicates significant space to justifying this fee. They argue that the member enjoyed the services of the home, right? They enjoyed the services of others. The text argues that reaping without sowing equals exploitation.
It's a very strict labor theory of value.
Taking without giving back violates the law of justice and fairness. So what does this all mean? I mean, I am zeroing in on the humorous but profound juxtaposition here. The community will literally make every effort, smashing their pots, to return your money to avoid going to hell.
But they are absolutely, unequivocally keeping that 2,000 yuan for services rendered.
Yes, they will risk damnation, but they want their room and board fee.
This raises an important question about how these communities actually function in reality. The practical brilliance of this rule is that it grounds a lofty, utopian vision in strict, mundane economics.
Because they still have bills to pay.
Exactly. It's an anti-freeloader policy. It ensures the spiritual commune survives in the real world by mandating compensation for community labor. If everyone could just move in, eat the food, use the resources, and then take 100% of their money back when they leave, the commune would go bankrupt.
Right, you can't pay the municipal water bill with telegnosis.
You really can't. So the leadership values the physical labor of the remaining community over the spiritual purity of the departing member. It prevents the community from being exploited by spiritual tourists.
It's a brilliant, bizarre synthesis of the eternal and the administrative. We've really taken quite a journey on this deep dive for you listening today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We started with a grand belief system, merging Jesus, Buddha, logic, and telegnosis. Then we moved to the cosmic life or death stakes of keeping a promise.
The whole rather die than swallow your words concept.
Right, and finally we landed on a highly practical 2,000 yuan administrative fee designed to prevent exploitation.
The physics of human labor always catch up to infinite theology.
Always. And before we close, I just want to remind you that all these unique ideas come directly from the 2009 text by Su Feng, which is connected to the Lifechanyuan websites mentioned in the source material.
It's been a really eye-opening document to analyze.
It really has. And I want to end with a final provocative thought for you to mull over, building on the text's assertion that a faithless person who breaks their word is merely a soul and not a pure man.
The ontological demotion.
Yeah. If our modern global society actually adopted this exact metric where every broken promise or unkept word literally stripped away a piece of your recognized humanity, how would our current economy, corporate structures, or political systems even function?
Oh man, they'd collapse overnight.
In a world built on fine print and broken promises, would anyone even be left as a pure man?
We'd all just be a society of floating souls.
A haunting thought for the next time you accept the terms of service. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.